Hello and welcome back to math. Remember, on our virtual learning, we are going to be able to have a video open and also complete our work at the same time. Now remember, you may watch the video and then complete all of the slides and your work, or you can do it together. You can open this video in another tab and then toggle back and forth between your video and your lesson. This will be a Pear Deck lesson again, so you may write on the screen and it will get saved for your teacher, or you may write on a piece of paper for anything that you want to do on quicker. Also, afterwards, remember there is going to be your homework and your exit ticket that you will need to complete that are separate from this lesson. Let's go ahead and get started. We are doing fractions on the number line. Okay, so let's go ahead and click over to the next slide. Here's our learning target. I can place various fractions on a number line. We all know exactly what a fraction is. Yep, a fraction is a part of a whole, remembering that that part is an equal part. Various means many different kinds. So we're going to be looking at very different kinds of fractions today and placing them correctly on a number line. To be successful today, strong mathematicians can locate and label fractions less than and greater than one whole on a number line. So we've been working a lot with fractions that are parts of one whole. Now we're going to also start working with more fractions that are greater than one whole. So they will be what we call improper fractions, and we will show you that as we keep going on today. All right, go ahead and click to the next slide. First, for our fluency practice, I'm going to be using a timer, and you may either do this on a piece of paper or you can do this on the smartboard itself. Okay, we are going to go ahead and do a sprint. Everybody remembers what a sprint is. Okay, this is a division sprint. Remember that there are 44 problems and you will have 60 seconds to complete as many problems as you can. When the timer goes off, I will give you the answers. You will see how many you get right. I will then give you about 3 minutes to complete as many more problems as you can. We will then do another sprint and see how much we improved. Remember, our goal is to just do one more than the last time. All right, so we're going to go ahead and you can go ahead and click to the next slide. This is your sprint. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 1 minute, and I'd like you to try to complete as many as you can in that 1 minute. Are you ready? Set, go. All right, my friends, we're going to go ahead and stop. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and we are going to go ahead and read the answers to you. Just go ahead and circle the ones that you got correct. Okay, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 10, 10, 8, 8, 3, 10, 9, 2, 4, 10, 5, 4. I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and I'm going to go ahead and give you guys about 3 minutes to go ahead and finish the rest of the page. Okay, and then we'll move on to our second sprint. If you are already finished the page, just go ahead and review your answers for the next sprint. Ready? Go. Great job, my friends. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and go to Sprint B. So go ahead and click over to the next slide. Okay, this is your Sprint B. Remember, you can do it on a piece of paper or you can write on the slide. You're going to have 1 minute to do as many problems as you can. Remember, your goal is just to get one more than you got last time. Remember, these are all division problems. Here we go. Ready, set, go. All right, my friends, go ahead and stop. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and review the answers with you. Mark down the ones you've got correct. 1, 1, 1, 1. 0, 0, 0, 0. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 6, 7, 7. 10, 10, 9, 9, 3, 10. 9, 9, 10, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, 8, 7, 9, 8, 11, 9, 9, 8, 9, 7. Good job, my friends. Did you guys get at least one more? Very proud of you. Remember, you guys can come back to this at any time and use any of these for practice. Let's go ahead and move on to our next fluency. Okay, we're going to look at our number lines here, and on our number lines, we are going to review adding fractions onto a number line. So we're looking at the very first fraction, or number line. You can see that the very first starting point is marked 0, and the last part is marked 3. Okay, what I would like you to do is I would like you to estimate, to mark and label 1/2 within the interval of 0 and 1. Very good, my friends. If we are right in between the 0 and the 1, you are approximately right about halfway. Here you should have marked it as 1/2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to estimate to mark 2/2 on the number line. Very good, my friends. If you remember, 0 is 0/2. Then you would have 1/2 right in the middle. Then number 1 would be 2/2. We're going to continue marking on the number line. I want you to find a fraction that is 4/2. So let's go ahead and go through our number line. We've got 0 or 0/2. Then we have 1/2. Then we have 2/2. Then we would have 3/2. And then number 2 would be 4/2. Very good. 4/2 would be marked right above the number 2. Then we're going to have 6/2. So if this is 4/2, then we mark halfway would be 5/2. And then number 3 would be 6/2. Now we're going to go to our next number line and we're going to work with fifths. So it's very important to make sure that you can divide your number line into fifths. So remember, every interval from 0 to 1, then again from 1 to 2, and then again from 2 to 3 should be broken into halves. So 0 would be 0/5, then you would have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. So go ahead and just mark where you would put and divide this each section into fifths. So you would basically have 1 hole, 2 holes, and 3 holes here. all evenly divided into fifths. Please go ahead and do that now. Great job. So now we're going to put on a couple fractions. I would like you to write 1/5 where you would put 1/5. 5/5 where you would put 5/5. Then 10/5. And then 15/5. Good job, my friends. Your 1/5 should have been 1 mark over from the 0. 5/5 would have been at the 1. 10/5 would have been at the 2. And 15/5 would be at the whole number 3. Let's go ahead and go down to the next. I need you to divide each interval into thirds. Please go ahead and do that now. Great job, my friends. Now I'm going to have you mark certain fractions. 1/3, 3/3, 9/3, and 6/3. Good job, my friends. 1/3 would be 1 interval over, 1 mark over from the 0. 3/3 is at the 1. 9/3 is at the 3. And 6/3 is at the 2. Very nice. Last one, I need you to divide this number line, each interval, 1 whole, 2 wholes, and 3 wholes, into fourths. Please do that now. All right, now we're going to go ahead and place some fractions on here. The first fraction is 1/4, then 8/4, 12/4, and then 4/4. Very good. First, right next to the 0, the first fraction would be 1/4. Then we're going to mark 8/4 would be at the number 2. 12/4 will be at the number 3. And 4/4 will be at the number 1. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. These next couple slides, you are going to just compare fractions. So you are going to give me the greater than, less than, or equal sign, A, B, or C, for which one each is. Now remember that next to it, I have your number strips or your fraction strips so you can look. Let's do this first one together. If I look at 1/2, I can tell that 1/2 is half of a number 1. And if I look down at 1/10, I can see how much smaller 1/10 is. Remember that in fractions, the larger the denominator, the smaller the piece will be. So 1/2 would be greater than 1/10. Good job. Let's go ahead and click to the next slide. All right, my friends, I'm going to give you a few minutes to do a couple of these problems. Go ahead and complete these problems. You can move faster than I am talking, or you may just pause the video. That is your call. Please go ahead and complete. Number 2, 1/2 is blank to 1/3. Number 3, 1/3 is blank to 1/4. Number 4, 1/4 is blank to 1/6. Number 5, 1/4 is blank to 1/2. Number 6, 1/6 is blank to 1/8. Number 7, 1/6 is blank to 1/5. And number 8, 1/5 is blank to 1/10. Good job, my friends. Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to now do the application problem. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to go ahead and figure this problem out. Okay, go ahead and write on the slide, and then we will go ahead and review the problem. Let's read the problem together. Sammy sees a black line at the bottom of the pool stretching from one end to the other. She wonders how long it is. The black line is the same length as 9 concrete slabs that make the sidewalk at the edge of the pool. One concrete slab is 5 meters long. What is the length of the black line at the bottom of the pool? Go ahead. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to go ahead and figure that out, and then we'll go ahead and review it. Good job, guys. Okay, that was our 3 minutes. Don't worry if you didn't get it finished. And if you did, great. Thank you for waiting for others. Now we're going to go ahead and review the problem. Okay, looking at this slide, that you can see that we did the read, draw, write model. So we read the problem first and then we drew it out. So here we drew the pool. Okay, and then here's our black line because of course, that's what we're measuring. Sammy says that the black line was as long as 9 of the concrete slabs. Okay, each slab was 5 meters. So if each slab was 5 meters, then we have equal groups. So we can do 5 times 9 or 9 times 5, which if we knew 9 times 5 equals 45. Very good. So your answer should be the black line is 45 meters long. Great job, friends. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Now we're going to go ahead and start reviewing. If you can go ahead and see my number line on this next slide, you can see that it is labeled from 0 to 1. And I have now partitioned this into thirds. So I've broken it up into thirds. And I've labeled my starting point 0, and I've then again labeled it 1. Now I have on here all of my fractions. So I have 1/3 here, 1/3 here, and 1/3 here. So my interval or my number line is broken up into thirds. On our 0, 0 would be 0/3 because we have nothing. There is no start to anything. After I broke it up into one section, now I have 1/3. So I have 1 out of the 3. Then if I cut to the next section, now I have 2/3 or 2 out of the 3 total sections. And when I cut to the last one, which is the 1 whole, I have all 3 of the sections. So that is 3/3. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. As you can see here, I have drawn a number line that has numbers 1 to 4 on it. Okay, you can see that we are looking at the whole numbers that are on the bottom, and they are 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have then divided this into thirds. Okay, each interval. So remember, 1 whole is going to be an interval. So from 1 to 2 is 1 whole, from 2 to 3 is 1 whole, and from 3 to 4 is 1 whole. I have broken each one of those up into thirds. So you can see that from 1 to 2, I have 1 piece, 2 piece, and 3 piece. And they are estimated, of course, into equals parts when we are drawing them out. Then on the top, I have labeled each of my fractions. What do you notice about my starting fraction here on 3/3? You're correct. It starts with the 3/3 and the 1. I did not start my number line at 0. I started my number line at 1. So I know that if I have broken up 1 whole into thirds, it would equal 3/3 because I have all 3 out of 3 pieces. Then each fraction moves up 1 in the denominator. So now I have a whole, which is 3/3. Then I add another piece. I have 1 more piece than a whole, so I have 4/3. Then I would have 5/3. Then when I hit 2 wholes, I have 6/3. Then 7/3, 8/3, 9/3. 10/3, 11/3, 12/3. Okay, now if you look at your whole numbers, each whole number, okay, you can see that if I took my fraction 3/3 or 6/3 or 9/3 or 12/3, you could look at this two different ways. 3 divided by 3 equals 1. 6 divided by 3 equals 2. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. Or 1 times 3 equals 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. 3 times 3 equals 9. And 4 times 3 equals 12. So if I have one whole and I have 3 pieces in that whole, I would have 3 wholes. If I have 2 groups or 2 wholes, and I have 3 pieces in each of those wholes, I would have 2 times 3 equals 6. If I have 3 wholes and I have each one has 3 pieces, so 3 times 3 equals 9. And then 4 would be 4 wholes, 4 in each, 3 in each 4, which would be 4 times 3 equals 12. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, as you can see, I have labeled a number line for you. And I started at number 1 again, and we are going to end at number 4. So we have 1, 2, 3 wholes here, but we're starting with 1 whole already. Okay, we are going to go ahead and break this up into thirds. All right, so I need you to go ahead and label the fractions. So I need you to evenly space marks between the holes to make thirds. Please go ahead and do that now. Good job, guys. You should have marked to break each section into thirds. Now I need you to label the fractions. So I want you to start at the number 1. What fraction would we start with at number 1? Correct, 3/3. So I need you to go ahead and label each fraction. Start at 3/3, then go to 4/3, 5/3, 6/3, and so on. I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and do this. Go ahead and mark those. Good job, guys. Let's make sure that we're looking at our videos, listening to our video slide, and go ahead and click to the next slide. This one will give you what your slide and number line should have looked like. Here we go. Very good. So you should have been 1/3, or 1 should have been 3/3, then 4/3, then 5/3, then 6/3, 7/3, 8/3. Again at 3, you should have been at 9/3, 10/3, 11/3, 12/3. Good job. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right. So here again is a slide that is marked 1 through 4. Okay. So now you're going to go ahead and find the fractions that are listed above. So you can see by looking at your denominator, how many pieces are you going to break each one into? Very good, into halves. Remember, two, we don't say seconds, we say halves. So you are going to break each interval into halves. My hint to you would to be go ahead and to break each one in half first. Then you can count and find which fraction goes where. I'm going to go ahead and give you about a minute to go ahead and do this one. Good job, guys. Remember, at any time, if you need more time than I am giving you on the video, pause the video, continue working, and then put the video back on when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click to the next slide to look for our answers. All right, my friends, so 2 halves should be at number 1. 5 halves should be in between 2 and 3. 7 halves should be in between 3 and 4, and 8 halves should be at 4. All right, let's go ahead and do another one. This one is a lot more. There's a lot more on here. Okay, let's go ahead. You are going to look at your fractions. What are we going to divide each one into? Correct. You are going to look and divide into thirds. So each of your numbers should be into thirds. So between 1 and 2 should be thirds, 2 and 3 should be thirds, and 3 and 4 should be thirds. Then as you can see, you've got 3 thirds, 4 thirds, 5 thirds, 6 thirds, 7 thirds, 8 thirds, 9 thirds, 10 thirds, 11 thirds, and 12 thirds. Go ahead and place all of those on your fractions. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and look at the next slide. As you can see, this one is marked with all of its thirds, and each third has a fraction on it in order. 1 starting with 3 thirds, and 4 ending with 12 thirds. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, my friends, this is where you're going to do more of the work now. Remember, let's label our whole numbers, mark all your fifths, and then place the given fractions on those spots. So when you're doing this, make sure that you divide them up equally. Looking at your denominator, how many are you going to divide each part into? Correct. You are going to do it into fifths. I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and do that. Remember, if you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. Good job, my friends. Let's go ahead and look at the next slide. All right, so we marked all of our fractions and broke it into fifths. 1, section 2, 3, 4, and 5 sections in each number interval. Now remember, we are looking at the fractions down at our whole numbers, marking them first. If you look, your fraction started with number 2. So if I had 2 whole groups that were broken into 5, how many pieces would I be starting with? Yep, I would be starting with 10. So my fraction would be 10 fifths that I'm starting with. Okay, so 2 would be 10 fifths. Then we go to 11 fifths. So then 12 fifths would be next. 13, 14, 15 fifths. Because remember, if I have 3 groups with 5, 5 times 3 is 15. So I have 15 fifths. Count 16, 17, then 18 fifths, 19, 20, 21 fifths. I know this might be confusing at first, but you're going to have plenty of opportunity to practice this. This is a new concept. Remember, I'm not looking for you to be masters, just looking for us to try right now. So let's go ahead and do another one. This one, I want you to label this number line in thirds. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and remember to look at your starting point to start with the correct fraction. Okay, so you're looking here and you're going to mark all the thirds going up. I'm going to give you a few minutes. Good job, guys. Let's go ahead and look at the next slide. So as you can see, my red lines here are where I marked into my thirds. So I have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Then I have another 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So each interval has 3/3. But remember, if you look at your starting point, I am starting with 4 groups. So if I have 4 groups that have 3 in it each, 4 times 3 equals 12. Very good. So my first fraction would be 12/3. Then it would be 13/3, 14/3, and then 15/3, 16/3, 17/3, and 18/3. Good job, my friends. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and you are going to go ahead and do your problem set. The problem set is going to be on your own. Okay, you're going to try these the best you can. You can leave messages or ask questions if you need to. All of these are just reviewing what we just did, so trying your best. Remember, look at your starting point on your number line to see where you are going to be. Each fraction is listed here that you will need to find. Okay, you can see that in your denominator, you are going to divide each one into how many parts? Correct, 6 parts. So you will be doing number 1 in sixths. Go ahead and click to the next slide just to look. Number 2, you're going to be dividing into fourths. Very good. Each one will be divided into 4 pieces. Looking at your starting point, what number are you starting at? 1. So you already have 1 whole. So 1 times 4 would be 4. Very good. Awesome. Okay, now go to the next one. Number 3, you're going to be dividing into thirds. Correct. You're going to be dividing each section into thirds. And finally, let's go on to the next slide. Number 4 is a problem. Let's go ahead and read it together. For a measurement project in math class, students measured the lengths of their pinky fingers. Alex is measured 2 inches long. Jeremiah's pinky finger was 7/4 inches long. Whose finger is longer? Draw a number line to help prove your answer. So you are definitely going to draw a number line. Okay, since we are at 2 inches, I would start your number line, say at 1, and go to at least 3, and then place the fractions on here. And your fraction, you're going to divide into how many pieces? Fourths. Very good. So each interval will be broken into fourths. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's go ahead and read this word problem together. Marcy ran 4 kilometers after school. She stopped to tie her shoelace at 7/5 kilometers. Then she stopped to switch songs on her iPod at 12/5 kilometers. Draw a number line showing Marcy's run, including her starting and finishing points and the 2 places where she stopped. All right, my friend, so you're going to put her starting point, her ending point, and then you're going to mark where the fractions would be on the number line. You can tell you're going to break your fraction numbers into fifths. Very good. What number will you start your number line at? Correct, 0, because she's starting at nothing. What number will you end at? Very good, 4. All right, let's go ahead and move on. All right, my friends, those are your problem sets. When you are finished with your problem sets, I would like you to take a few minutes and discuss with a parent or an adult, an older brother or sister, okay, and answer some of these questions with them. Let them see your work and explain to them what you are doing. If you need to, use these questions as a guideline for questioning or showing them what you're doing, that's what they are here for. When you are finished with that, you are then going to do your exit ticket and homework. Your exit ticket and homework are assigned in your Google Classroom along with this assignment. So please complete each assignment and turn them into your teacher. They are on Google Docs or writable PDFs that will automatically be sent to your teacher when you are working on them. Okay, if you have any more questions, please make comments in your Google Classroom. You can also write comments on each of these slides if you need to. Remember, at any point, you can go back and re-watch the video and help you if you are a little confused on the greater than 1 fractions. If you have any questions at all, make sure you talk to your teacher. Good luck, and we'll see you the next lesson.